This is Pukeology Podcast, where science meets your hilarious puke stories and the tips and tricks to stop that up chuckle that you need.
You never know what's going to spew out of her mouth. Here's
my mama,
Dr. Pukeology.
So what's harder, the pregnancy or the newborn stage? Well, as a pregnancy doctor and a mom, I must add, I would have to say that it really depends upon the woman. So let's go over the difficult experiences of being pregnant by trimester, plus what to expect when you're expecting a newborn difficulty. Coming up all today in Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 86, What's Harder, Pregnancy or a Newborn? Do you want no more morning sickness, pregnancy nausea, or how about no more headaches or migraines? Visit our sponsor, nomonausea.com, the only natural way to instantly stop your worst nausea, vomiting, or headaches now and get 25% off with the code PUKE25. That's PUKE25. Or just place the Nomonausea band on your baby registry for your delivery room bag at Bye Bye Baby. Get it shipped for free in just 2 days as an Amazon Prime vendor, or just know that your little ones are always taken care of with Nomonausea Kids and No More Sleepless Nights. Guess what? The sleep one works with moms with small wrists too. Now they're all available at your local Walmart store. Do you want to hear some pregnancy humor that may just make you want to pee your pants? Like you don't have to pee all the time, with hilarious stories like poop and pee, you better believe it, it came up, and red-nosed wagon. If you want to learn more about your pregnancy, humor and knowledge is key to help you survive these 9 months. And just know we're in this together. Today, you will learn the science behind the pregnancy statistics of how many women experience each pregnancy problem by trimester, the most common difficulties that you can expect when you're having a newborn. But don't worry, I won't leave you without some great pregnancy natural remedies to help all that ails you, and mom advice for you getting ready for a newborn inside your house to make the newborn routine and your life easy peasy lemon squeezy. So let's get your pregnancy life on Easy Street, all in today's Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 86. Is pregnancy or a newborn more difficult? Here we go.
The science of puke, pukeology.
So we all know, or you might not actually know as a brand new mom, that you're going to expect the unexpected when it comes to pregnancy. And believe it or not, every pregnancy is different than the last. So you can't just assume because you've been there and done that before. That's probably why you're listening to this pregnancy podcast. So what is harder? Or what do you think is going to be harder? Pregnancy or the newborn stage? Now, when you're a mom who has kids and you've done it before, literally adding just 1 or 2 extra to the family seems like no big deal. But I'm here to tell you that it makes a huge deal, especially when you're playing defense and not offense anymore. That's the reason why I always make a joke. You have 2 hands, and that's the reason why I had 2 children. Just because, even though my husband and I share responsibilities, there's sometimes that you're going to be by yourself with the kiddos. And boy, oh boy, let me tell you, you're in for a whirlwind if you have 1 extra. So kudos to you moms if you are working on your 3rd. Now, I will say it might be difficult for first-time moms to answer this question or to even think about where they're going to be once this baby is actually born. And again, you can always go back and take a look and read this on nomonausea.com/blogs. So you can actually find this podcast and the entire blog content. So if you're listening to this in the car or on the way to your prenatal checkup, just know you can actually refer back to it later. Honestly, there is not a yes or no answer to whether or not pregnancy is harder than having a newborn. It's because every woman experiences pregnancy a little differently, and different situations of having a newborn also affect whether or not you find it difficult. Some women report that being pregnant is worse than having a newborn, while others confidently report and say that no, a newborn is way harder than being pregnant. Regardless of which opinion or which side of the fence that you're actually going on, enjoy the journey. And by that, I just mean live in the present. Don't think about the future, live for right now. So again, if you're a first-time mom or you've already had multiple babies, here's what you should expect, okay? This is a pregnancy, what to expect when you're expecting. So why carrying during a pregnancy is actually hard or is experienced as something more difficult for a lot of women? It's because of the fact that pregnancy results in so many changes to your body. The pregnancy, or your pregnancy in specific, some of you guys might be sick all the time. For example, in early pregnancy, there's a crazy experience that some of you have already experienced, and it's called morning sickness. Now, I don't know who made the name morning sickness because let's be real, it really is all day sickness. And for some, unfortunately, some moms have morning sickness or this nausea feeling all throughout their pregnancy. Don't worry, NomoNausea.com has definitely got you. They invented a 3-in-1 essential oil infused acupressure wristband that goes on your wrist and instantly stops you from getting sick. So you don't have to suffer through that anymore. But I digress. Let's go back. So some of the very early pregnancy symptoms include overall body fatigue, nausea, vomiting, mood changes, the sense of smell changes, okay? And all of these things make you feel super uncomfortable. And also, did I forget to say that in your first trimester, you will start to pee a lot more? Yeah, that was something that I wasn't expecting even as a pregnancy doctor. Now, as your baby starts to grow and your bump becomes a lot bigger, your muscles and ligaments start stretching. Sometimes some of you guys will actually have hip and back pain or sciatica. In addition to having a nice big baby bump, right, in the front, you will also have a little baby that is kicking your ribs or really putting pressure upon your diaphragm, causing you to be unable to breathe properly or bend down or really just take a big deep breath. Now, another thing is, because of the fact that your body gets ready for delivery, and in delivery, you're to expect about a 500 ml to about a liter of blood loss, your body starts to make almost an extra liter of blood products inside of your body. So that's why women get this stuffy nose. It's because you have a lot more fluid running through your body. Some of you lovely ladies, like I did, will have beautiful cankles by the end of it. Make sure that you're taking a look at your blood pressure. Because if you have edema, or basically we say it's pitting edema, but if you can take where your shin bone is and put pressure upon your finger, right, where your shin bone is, and if it forms a divot or a groove, that means you have a lot of edematous tissue. That means you have a lot of fluid, and I would definitely go and have your blood pressure checked out by your OBGYN. All right, so other than we talked about all of those other issues, right, pregnancy also interferes with your sleep, okay, for real in the late third trimester. It's because your bump is getting bigger. You're no longer allowed to lie flat on your back. Why? Because of the fact that you want to make sure that you do a little bit of left uterine displacement. All that basically means is that you kind of bump your right side so that you can breathe appropriately and you can oxygenate the baby. So we only say don't lay flat, especially in your third trimester, because you have vital organs and also a massive vital artery and vein that are actually there. So you don't want to sit there and compress them, because if you're not getting blood flow, neither is the baby. That's also the reason why whenever you go and you work out, make sure that you're wearing kind of like a heart rate monitor. They sell them in all different types of ways. This way to make sure that you are getting enough blood to the baby and you're not becoming tachycardic or increasing the amount of your heart rate so much so that the baby is not getting enough of the oxygen that it needs. All right, so we talked about all of those issues, but as your bump grows or as the baby gets bigger and bigger, right, it's compressing your bladder. This increases urinary frequency. So you have to go to the bathroom all the time. You wake up multiple times to go to the toilet, and it disrupts your sleep. Now, I will say that no more sleepless nights They currently have them for kids, and it is an essential oil infused acupressure wristband, different acupressure points, but it really does work. It helps your body to produce extra forms of melatonin. So go get one of those, especially if you're a woman with smaller wrists. You can actually use the kids one, and it works great. It's definitely something to get your body into a routine. And then if you have little ones over the age of 2 that just aren't sleeping right, and or they have other type of anxiety and different things like that, or suffer from migraines, you can always utilize that as something as a routine, but to help them go off to sleep faster and stay asleep longer. Now, in addition to the big baby bump that's in the front and makes you completely uncomfortable in a sleeping position, you have to remember that you probably are having to sleep in different types of positions, which you're not accustomed to. I luckily was a side sleeper, and I remained a side sleeper. The only difference is I got those pregnancy pillows. Oh my goodness, and it took so much pressure off. That and that awesome pregnancy band that you wear, oh, it's a lifesaver. Meaning it's kind of like the kinesiology tape, and or you can actually use a band to kind of help prop up your belly. And this helps to decrease the weight that's on your back, because I had some bad sciatica as well. So the experience that a mom experiences during labor and the whole birthing process is really like a hard nut to crack, honestly. You will experience both emotional and physical exhaustion while you're pushing. Your lower abdominal pain that radiates to your back due to contractions, especially if the baby's face is turned in the wrong direction. Think of it like this, okay? Your baby has a nice, soft, squishy face, right? And then the head is a lot harder because it has a skull in there. So you have to remember that even though that the baby's heads are still very malleable, if they're faced the wrong way, it's kind of like, I'm trying to think of that instrument that they use and it's like, kind of like an old school washing board. It's that type. And so it's going to definitely radiate some pain due to your lower back, especially during contractions. And if those of you who are not or have not experienced an epidural or are really confused or, just don't know, trust me, I'm the right doctor to tell you all about it. I have done literally tens of thousands of epidurals. So for me, I would definitely get some more education, learn about both of them. And I am going to do a podcast. I keep promising that I'm going to do it. I just haven't had the chance to sit down and do it as of yet. So remember, contractions, labor, it's nothing like you've ever experienced. And then 80% of women get nausea or vomiting during delivery, whether that's from a C-section, regular vaginal birth. So again, that's something that most women are just not prepared for. They're not prepared to puke all over themselves, right? Whenever they're pushing. So I always say No More Nausea Med Plus is actually utilized at hospitals in 12 countries of the world. But if your hospital doesn't have it, because again, you won't know until you actually show up there. So just go grab one. It's on Amazon. They're like $12 and it will literally save you from getting sick all over yourself. You're welcome. I digress. So pregnancy can also have a lot of other difficulties. Some of you may have to see a perinatologist, somebody that's taking a look at you and the baby a lot more closely than just your once in a while OB checkups. So some of these more difficulty pregnancies are placenta previa, gestational diabetes when your sugar is too high, and also ladies, make sure that you're kind of looking at your sugar and your eating habits, not just during pregnancy, but they say that 50% of women who had gestational diabetes will get diabetes later on in life, and that can be very problematic for wound healing, for the actual tingling and numbness in your feet. You're not getting the correct amount of oxygenation. So your sugar is not just about how sweet you are. It's about everything else and how your body communicates with itself. Another problem during pregnancy is premature rupture of membranes leading to hospital admissions. Basically, PPROM is what we call it. It's not a good thing, right? We want to keep the baby in there to cook at least till full term. And what we consider full term is 36 weeks and older. So a mom that finds pregnancy to be very hard sometimes will claim that, you only need to carry the baby around and the pregnancy, and the pregnancy contents, right? The baby, the amniotic fluid, the placenta, all of those things they're looking at pregnancy as, okay, it's all contained, self-contained into one area. You can also request that someone take care of the baby for a while, unlike during pregnancy, which you can't share it, unfortunately, with someone. And then you can co-sleep. Again, co-sleeping is not exactly, not every doctor or not a lot of doctors will say, or the ACOG and things of that nature will tell you, yes, go co-sleep, because again, you could roll over the baby and suffocate the baby. But I'm not one to tell you any different. I'm a real mom. I know that if your baby sleeps while you are sleeping, guess what? Go put them in bed with you so that you can sleep. You are the most important thing, because again, like they say when you go on a plane ride, put your oxygen mask on first before you help others. Because if you pass out from lack of oxygen, nobody else is going to get helped either. So again, it's the same thing. Help thyself first, and then again, you can help the baby. But when you are pregnant, no one else can help you to sleep, right? Because the baby is still inside of you. So now let's look at each of the pregnancy symptoms by trimester. And this will help you to evaluate which one do you think is actually hardest. And so some of you will love pregnancy. There's this small percentage of people that really love it, and others will loathe it. Don't worry, you will always find someone else who feels the exact same way. I loathed pregnancy, just to let you all know. I am on team pregnancy is harder, but again, I am very blessed with a family that I was able to help. So again, not having a family or a support or a significant other is very difficult, because it's just you when you're taking care of the baby, versus when you're pregnant, they just go everywhere that you go. So in polling thousands of women and taking a look at a lot of medical research, which trimester is the most difficult? So most women agree that the second trimester is the easiest, meaning it's either the most difficult is the first or the third. 45% felt that the first trimester was the most difficult. 37% felt the third trimester was the hardest, while only 3% of women thought all 3 trimesters were so easy. Can we give them a silent round of applause? Ew. If you were one of those 3% of women, I don't want to turn you off from listening to it, but girl, let's be real. Pregnancy is not easy street, okay? So most will agree the second trimester is better than all the others. And again, when most of you guys will actually say that first trimester was harder because getting over that morning sickness, you don't have to suffer anymore. Nomonausea.com is here for you. If you put in the code puke25, you save 25%. So literally, like, what is 25% off of $12? I definitely know that it's probably under $10 at that point. So 13% of women thought all the trimesters were equally difficult. So you have 3% of women who said, hey, everything was super easy. And then 13% of women that said all 3 trimesters were super terrible and difficult. More than likely, those were the women that had HG, which is hyperemesis gravidarum. If you're curious as to what that big word is, again, HG, hyperemesis gravidarum, is basically morning sickness, but on steroids. It's like a constant morning sickness that makes you feel really, really sick all the time. And that being said, you can take a look at my podcast, which is Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 6. I do an entire thing on pregnancy or hyperemesis gravidarum and talk about all of the different ways or mechanisms in which you can help to stop getting so sick all the time. Now, let's switch gears, okay? If you are team newborn, that team newborn is harder. Let's go through some of the things that make newborns and babies, brand new babies, very hard. So a newborn, they are mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausting. Not to mention, I feel like a lot of times we as women say everything is okay until it's not okay. Meaning, our sense of mental health after a baby is something that nobody really talks about. You have just had a massive hormonal surge and then it's been retracted. And so if you are one of those women that is having postpartum issues when it comes to depression, anxiety, other type of mental illnesses that you were not noticing in your pregnancy, I would highly recommend and advise you to go see somebody about it. We don't talk about it enough. It's like we don't talk about Bruno, no. But I want you to talk about it. It's very important for you and your health, okay? Your mental health is actually what dictates all the rest of your physical embodiment. So while a newborn is super rewarding, it's exhausting. During the early weeks after birth, you not only have to deal with sleep deprivation, but you also experience sore nipples, bleeding of the nipples, and pain due to contraction of the uterus back to normal, bleeding in that area. Ladies, if you had a C-section, did you know that you're going to bleed out of your vagina? You probably didn't. It's okay, right? If I wasn't the doctor that was going to tell you that, you are. Why? Because that's the only way that the blood is going to be able to get out of. So just letting you know something to expect. Yes, you will be wearing these like not so sexy, gigantic underwear with a nice big fat pad in there, okay? In addition, after your uterus finally contracts back to normal. Oh, and let me say, your body does not bounce back where you are just as thin as you were before you gave birth, okay? So FYI, bring pregnancy clothes for your afterbirth, meaning when you are postpartum, you are going to be the same size that you were when you were pregnant. Do not have this idea that as soon as the baby comes out that all the weight goes and drops. It doesn't. I did that with my first and I couldn't put my other clothes on and it just caused me to have a massive emotional breakdown and I started crying. But again, I was young. I was in my 20s. And so having a baby in your 20s and having a baby in your 30s are a little bit different. In your 30s, you recognize that stretchy pants are the best thing that God has ever produced. So, in addition, you will have to learn how to take care of the baby, okay? Who will be crying a lot of the times? When you're pregnant, the only person that you were able to focus on was you. You're the only person that needed to be, right? But after you have a baby, you might find it hard to adjust to all the attention that's being diverted to the baby. Having a newborn may even be worse, especially when your baby has different complications like colic and all these other things that make them hard to be able to eat. And they spit up all the time. They don't sleep through the night. Other type of skin conditions, right? They're constantly scratching themselves. And, there's a lot of maintenance and a lot of things that you have to do that you just were not expecting it. I always tell brand new moms, and I always buy brand new moms 2 things for their baby showers. Other than no menage bands, because I actually do put that as like outside of the gift. But as the gift, I get them 2 things that they probably didn't think of. Number 1 is a wipe warmer, because in the middle of the night, you don't want to disturb the baby so that they're up. If you put a cold anything on anybody's butt, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to shock, wake up, and then they're not going to be able to go off to sleep as easily. The second thing is a humidifier, okay? So a humidifier for the room will basically help because a lot of people, whenever the baby gets sick for the very first time, they are scrambling, trying to figure out what is going on. And so having it ahead of time, and some people even put like some nice little diffused oils in there and things like that, it really does help with their respiratory and their upper respiratory, because remember, their lungs are still developing as they come out. So those are my 2 little helpful sleep tips. You will get a lot more tips coming up next after the funny, hilarious stories. Get ready for some puke stories.
Throwing up on a Tuesday? One puke story.
So you're probably wondering, what kind of story can I talk about? Well, I'll start off by saying my cats like to drink out of the toilet. I had the sudden urge to puke one day, so I ran to the bathroom, and what do you know? My cat was in there having some water. I couldn't hold it in anymore, and it just came out all over my cat. Poor kitty. That is definitely a very interesting way. Better out than in, right? It's really the Hello Kitty that they were not expecting. Thanks, Kit Kat, for that hilarious puke story. I appreciate it. All right, number 2. I've been nauseated pretty much all day, every day. I usually just dry heave, but I've puked several times too. This evening, I wasn't feeling too great, so I decided to take a warm bath to see if that would help. It was going well until about 15 minutes in, I vomited all over the tub while I was still in it. Oh, I can't wait for the second trimester that everyone says is perfect. LOL. I didn't want to risk getting out in a soaking wet tub and slipping on the tile. It's definitely a bath partner you were not looking at is floating grodies. Thanks, Heidi, for that hilarious puke story. So my dog had the runs this morning, which I didn't think much of it, probably just had an upset stomach. I had to go paint my old house that I'm trying to sell, and I left him alone with my other dog in a new place. Went and painted for about 4 hours, grabbed some food, came home, opened up the door and could smell the dog poop. Let out the dogs and went and found the trail of runny poop on the living room floor. Thankfully, it was hardwood floor. I started to gag and ran outside for fresh air. Too late, I puked off the end of the deck and peed a little bit because I lost my bladder control when I puke. But I still had to clean up my mess. So I zipped up my hoodie so it was all the way over my nose and mouth, got an old towel and hope to not be able to smell it. I started wiping up the slimy mess and then I lost it. Get up to run to the bathroom, started puking on my way, only my hoodie was covering my face, so I ended up puking down my shirt. And of course I couldn't hold my bladder. I finished puking in a bucket, went to the bathroom and had to clean myself up. Still have to clean up poopy mess, cover it with vinegar to mask the smell, and find someone on a couch cushion the dogs had knocked down. Also, it has puke on it. So now doing a lot of really gross laundry and questioning my sanity. How am I going to plan on doing cloth diapers? Hillary, that was a hilarious story. I feel like I was there with you. Now, do you have a hilarious puke story that you just can't wait to share? Send it to me. Pukeology, Pukeology @nomonaja.com or tweet me @Pukeology so we can all have a good laugh.
Tips and tricks to stop the up chuckle that you need.
Alrighty, the favorite section, everybody's favorite section. These are pregnancy remedies that actually will work. And let's just go first. Let's just start it out with a bang with some first-time mom pregnancy tips, okay? So again, I know I talk about this all the time. Use no Monaja bands, especially if you're in your first trimester, and then don't forget them for your actual delivery room, okay? Join a mom's group, right? I think it's so important. We are a community, right? When one suffers, we all suffer. No, you don't have to suffer. Be there, it's like having Yodas, okay? Moms who have been there, done that. So go join a Facebook community or get other tips and tricks from other great moms like me. Create a birth plan. There is actually an entire birth plan that we actually have up on one of the episodes. And I think it's really important that you kind of take a look. So I always say, go to episode, I cannot find the birth plan episode. Birth plan will be found. I'll let you know. I'll let you guys know whenever I can actually find which episode it was. But create a birth plan. We have a sample birth plan. Just know it's going to change. Exercise regularly. If you exercise before the baby, before you were pregnant, then you should be doing the exact same thing during your pregnancy, okay? You haven't changed. So again, get into a routine. Exercise increases endorphins. Endorphins are happy hormones and they make you smile. Drink plenty of water. If you think you're not drinking enough water, it's because you're not. Drink more and more and more. That is the number one complication that I see with preterm labor is that women are dehydrated and then they just start to contract and go into labor. Eat a balanced diet. Okay, we have different recommendations on what you should be eating. So again, it is important. Or you can go listen to Pregnancy Pukeology episode 5, foods to avoid. Because if you know what to avoid, then basically everything else is fair game. Take your prenatal vitamins. It's not only good for your hair and your skin, but it increases the amount of folic acid that you have. And that is actually one of the B vitamins that helps the baby with neurotubal. Okay, meaning when their brain and their spinal cord are actually forming, it helps them to be healthy and nice and strong. Pack your hospital bag ahead of time. When packing your hospital bag, here are 6 home remedies for morning sickness. These are all things that you can do. Acupressure on the P6 point. Okay, if you push that, you would, and let me tell you how to get there. P6 point is the vascular meridian, and it is found 3-finger distance in between your first 2 tendons, okay, so it's on your wrist about 3 fingers up, and then put your finger in between those 2 tendons, your pointer finger and your middle finger tendon. That's the P6 point. So you can apply pressure for about 5 minutes consistently, right? And then do it again. But really, who has time to hold their wrist? Just go pick up a no-menage-a-band. It makes your life a lot easier. The other thing I was going to tell you is peppermint oil. Peppermint oil, the actual smell of the aromatics are there to help to relax and decrease the amount of upset, nausea feeling that you actually do have. That's the reason why no-menage-a-bands are actually an infusion between peppermint essential oil and acupressure wristbands in a waterproof and stylish design. So it's kind of like a Livestrong band, just with a bump and with smell. So eat apples. The pectin of apples, which is the outside, is actually very good in order to help decrease motion sickness. Well, it's also used for morning sickness because it actually is a high fibrous and it makes sure that it soaks up all of the things that are already in your stomach. If you help to push stuff down, then you have nothing to puke back up. Lemons are another great one. Don't just put it inside your water, but smell the lemons, okay? Some of us might not be able, with our food aversions, might not be able to actually eat lemons again, but ginger is another one, very strong, but you can have it in a tea, and that has also been shown to help to decrease the amount of nausea and vomiting that you experience in a natural way. So here's some ways, 6 ways to boost your energy levels, okay, during pregnancy. So in order to trick your brain, if you were a coffee drinker before, right, drink some decaffeinated coffee because the taste might remind you that, oh, I have a little boost, even though it's decaffeinated. Go outside. Vitamin D is something that you will get from the outside world, and you will be able to hear the sights and the sounds. I always tell all my pregnant moms, okay, go outside, close your eyes, listen to what's around you. Take nice, big, deep breaths in and breaths out, and you'll be really able to kind of be a part of your setting. And then you'll forget all of the pregnancy issues that you're having. Go try some new healthy foods, okay? It does something whenever my husband and I are going to take a nice date night to go try something new. It feels exhilarating, it's exciting, and it's definitely an energy boosting. Find a scent that works for you. Okay, I'm not saying spray yourself with a bunch of perfume, but actually an essential oil. They found that the citrulline branches and also that peppermint is an excitatory. It gives you a little boost of energy. Read a book. Okay, put your nose in a good book, right? Reading a book also has been found to really give you a new sense of yourself, and then take a bath. Self-care is what you need, right? You are also making a baby. So girl, take care of yourself. Now, talking about different types of exercises that are good for pregnancy, we do have different exercises that are recommended just because, again, I'm not gonna tell you to go do anything crazy, but nice walks around the neighborhood, or maybe sign up for yoga. If you're looking for some great exercises that you can do while you're pregnant, we have an entire Pregnancy Pukeology podcast on it. It is called Exercises That Are Safe for Pregnancy, and it's episode 44, so go check it out. Yoga tips. for pregnancy. Okay, so if you are going to find yoga, make sure your instructor is experienced. Okay, don't just get the nearest yoga instructor on Craigslist because they might not have a subspecialty for pregnant women, okay? They might not know the things that are important or the different stretches or non-stretches that you can or cannot do due to the shift in movement of your pelvis. Drink lots of water before the class and after. Find the right class, and you might actually make some friends too while you're at it. Wear comfortable clothing and warm up. Make sure that you stretch nicely. I understand that your body is producing a lot of relaxin, which is a hormone that helps everything to relax, hence putting your pelvis into position. You may start duck waddling a little bit as you get into your third trimester, but make sure that you are stretching and warming up because your muscles are not going to be or not handle it the exact same way because you have a brand new baby in the way. And then last but not least, when you are finding these prenatal yoga classes, find something that's in your area and make some new friends. So maybe you guys can do stroller strides or something like that afterwards. Because again, there's nothing like community, right? There ain't no hood like motherhood. All right. So 5 sleep tips for pregnancy to help you to sleep. So number 1, keep a consistent sleep and wake schedule. This is good for yourself, so be diligent. Even on the weekends, make sure that it's the same time. Get over 8 hours of sleep. And again, number 2, make your bedroom nice and comfy, right? Use a lot of pillows to support your bump. They do have pregnancy pillows that can actually dub as breastfeeding pillows so that you can get 2 for the price of 1. Number 3, okay? Make sure that you don't have any caffeine. Now, they do say, or I as a physician am okay with you having 1 caffeinated beverage per day. Choose wisely, okay? But it riles up the baby, and if it riles up the baby, you won't be able to sleep either. So make sure that you have your caffeine in the early morning and not late in the day before bedtime. Number 4, keep your phones away from your face, 45 minutes, right? So keep your gadgets and devices away during bedtime to avoid the blue light awake signals. So your body, when it hits blue light, it says, whoa, I'm up and totally awake. Number 5, stick to your bedtime routine, okay? Read a book, they say, for 6 minutes before you go to sleep will actually help you, and utilize a clinically proven sleep bracelet called No Sleepless Nights Band. All those things will help you to produce more melatonin naturally. Alrighty, so now for what we've all been waiting for. Some of you guys are already getting ready to deliver. So let me give you some newborn tips, okay? Obviously, when you have a brand new baby, help your body to latch during breastfeeding. What that means is you be comfortable and put your baby in whatever position that you feel the most comfortable. They will find the nipple, I guarantee, okay? Make sure that you are keeping hand sanitizer nearby to make sure that the baby doesn't get any illnesses or anything like that. So make sure that you know how to swaddle your baby before that you let go. I'm only saying that because all these new cool swaddling techniques. I like the good old-fashioned baby Bjorn where I know that it's in there and it's clicked in safely, because obviously you wouldn't want to drop the baby itself. Give the baby sponge baths for the very beginning, a nice full body massage, and apply moisturizers prior to them going to sleep. And if it has some lavender in it, even better, right? And make sure that the baby is nice and dry before bed, because that is probably the number 1 cause for a baby to wake up. They feel wet and gross. We all do it. And here's some more newborn tips and tricks, okay? Encourage long naps. So you don't put your baby to nap in a bright room, right? You want to make sure that you lower the amount, and they will know the difference between night and day, okay? Remember, encourage long naps because you get a break. And you don't want super long naps, right? Not right before bed, but get into a routine where they take a nap from this time to this time. And if I can give you any advice, moms, you sleep when they sleep. Don't try to be doing a whole bunch of crazy other things. All right. If your baby has gas, or if they're constantly crying and things like that, and you haven't seen them, have a bowel movement, make Do the elbows to knee trick. Okay, elbows to knee. Bend over, make your knees touch your elbows. That's my only wrapping I promise I will do. But it helps to remove stubborn gas by helping to move the elbows to the knees or the knees to the elbows, okay? Track your diapers and track your feeding. This is so much easier if you are breastfeeding. Every 2 hours is breastfeeding, especially for brand new babies, but your babies will give you those cues, okay? Use white noise so that you don't have to have them perfectly silent. Get them accustomed to hearing some things so that they can sleep whenever they're around others or when you have the vacuum running or things like that. Use a pull-up onesie instead of snaps. I cannot tell you in the middle of the night, you will never get those snaps right again. It's kind of like a big long skirt. They just pull up and pull down. Feed after they wake up and try to uncover them a little bit. Your body heat and your body warmth will help them to stay warm. But again, exciting them so that they don't fall asleep on the breast is very important, and it'll also save your nipples too. Find a hold that fits for you, okay? So if you are a person, don't think that you have to bring your baby in when you're showering. Put the baby and allow them to kind of self-soothe themselves. Put them in the bouncer, in the rocker. Just make sure that it's not on a high surface because they could potentially, roll over. Swaddle your baby at night. This way it makes them feel like a cocoon, right? And they feel like that they're back in the womb that they were before. All right, next is your baby's hunger cues. So early hunger cues mean lip smacking or smacking. The tongue and the mouth will start moving back and forth, and then they start sucking on everything. Now, mid-hunger cues are when they start rooting and getting them positioned to feed. They start fidgeting and squirming, and they become fussy, and they start breathing rapidly. It's like they're hangry, right? And then late hunger cues, you probably are going to have to calm the baby down first before you start feeding. Crying, move their head side to side. And again, them consistently turning red. It's because they're so hungry that they're angry at you. So establish a routine. Feeding, playing, cleaning, sleeping, right? And it might be feeding, playing, napping, feeding, playing, napping, feeding, playing, napping, cleaning, sleeping. So whatever works for you and your baby, just be consistent with it. So bottom line is having a newborn and being pregnant are challenging. That's the road ahead, right? It's a mom's life for us. You will surely experience some difficulty at some point during your pregnancy and or if you're having a newborn. The only difference is that every woman experiences pregnancy different and takes care of a newborn or has others to help them out. Therefore, what's harder between pregnancy and newborn depends how you perceive it. You let me know and send me an email because I'm very curious. Thanks again for listening to Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 86. What's harder, pregnancy or newborn? Now that you've gotten all the information from what to expect by trimester with problems in pregnancy and some newborn things that you might not have already known. And again, tips and tricks for pregnancy and for newborn mom life. Now, if you love Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, please let me know with a 5-star rating or hearts for like. And don't forget to download this episode, but more importantly, share it with all your preggo friends. Thanks again for listening to Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 86, What's Harder, Pregnancy or a Newborn? I'm Dr. Darna, and that is all we have. See you guys next time.